Well, g'day everybody. Hopefully you can hear me, and I'll just check what YouTube is saying, whether it's okay. Yes, it says the stream is very healthy. So I'll just wait for a few people to turn up. But so far we've got David all the way from St. Charles in Missouri. We've got Majid from Saudi Arabia. We've also got Team Sapperline from Vietnam. And of course, my lovely wife, Kim, the moderator, is here for the show as well. So I'll give it a few minutes, maybe one or two, before we kick the show off in earnest. Now, if you are here, don't forget to have a say to say g'day in the chat. Oh, we've got a few people already. So we've got Jean-Francois, we've got Geordie. So it's a good time for Europe, obviously, and the UK, this time that I've selected. Now, just before I do start the show, what I'll just show everybody is this is the spread of time zones. So we've kind of changed the time, as you can tell, and it is now 9 p.m. here in Melbourne time. And just by looking at that spread of time, the only time zone that's kind of out of whack a little bit is the Pacific. And the western half of the US. But if they're up and about, that would be fantastic to see them on the show. But I don't expect people to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch my show. But if you do, good on you. Big thumbs up. Okay, let's kick off the show. We've got a few more. We've got Erebus. We've got Tambelin from Malaysia. We've got Luke. G'day, Luke. How are you? And we will start the show. Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. So welcome to Ask the Cheeseman, episode 64, where you can ask me anything about home cheese making, and I will try my very best on answering your questions, of course. Now, just a few little bits and bobs before we get started into the Q&A. I'd like to say a big thank you to new patrons this week. We've got April Curry. We've got Jason Depew and Mike Johnson. Thank you for for being my patrons. And thanks to everybody who's a patron and support the show financially. Now, hopefully you caught a glimpse at my triple pepper jack cheese, which is sitting in the cheese cave now, maturing for the next 3 months. It looked and did taste it a little bit. I tasted a little bit off the edge. Just as it was just come out of the press, and by goodness, I'll tell you what, she was pretty hot. So it was a damn hot little cheese. And seeing I put chili oil or chili-infused olive oil around it as a rub, and the chipotle chili powder for extra smokiness and a little bit extra kick, I think that's going to be one heck of a cheese. It's actually reached, I think it was 5,000 views in one day. So far, people are enjoying that video. We will have a secret unboxing. I received this in the mail. What this is will become evident over the next few days. I'll be putting an unboxing video up. It was sent to me by a lovely gentleman who kind of my pen pal. He lives in Manitoba in Canada, and his name's David. And David also sent me my 2 cheese harps as well. So and you see them in just about every video. So he sent me another little present, and a lovely gift. He's made a few of them, and from what I've had a sneak peek of, it is excellent craftsmanship and will go well for any cheesemaker. Now, obviously, you'll be able to make it yourself. I'm not going to sell them or anything like that. It's just a gift. So watch for that video over the next couple of days. Also, this morning, the podcast, I released a podcast episode, 8 a.m. every Wednesday morning, my time. This one was about, well, the main news story plus listener questions. The news story was about turning whey into vodka. They've developed a yeast that takes the sugars, the leftover sugars in the whey, and turn it into a clear alcoholic spirit, which is also known as vodka. So that's pretty cool. So go and have a listen to that. Kim will put the link up in a minute. But you can also find it, well, where is it? There at littlegreencheese.com. You'll see all the podcast episodes that I've released. I think I'm up to 75 episodes. So, yeah, they're all great. There's some interviews in there and some all sorts of things. And finally, last but not least, don't forget that you can super chat if you like, and that money goes straight to us. That also puts your comment up the very top of the chat for everybody to see. So that's a very cool thing that YouTube have recently put out, and we can do that. And of course, just to celebrate the 100,000 subscriber mark. Now, Google obviously sends you not Google, YouTube, same company. YouTube sends you a silver play button, but they're yet to give me the details of how do I apply for that, so we'll see what happens. We're thinking of making a pretty cool video for the silver play button unboxing, so that'll be great fun too. Anyway, let's get on to some of your questions. Let's have a look. The very first question is from Geordie. Geordie says, I'm confused about calcium chloride. Do I always use it when I use pasteurized, non-homogenized milk? The answer is yes. Well, I do anyway. And it's because pasteurization is a form of heat treatment. So even though the milk is unhomogenized, what you're trying to do is add back soluble calcium that's destroyed during the heat treatment process, which is pasteurization. So unless you're using raw milk straight from the cow, I highly recommend that you add in an equivalent amount of calcium chloride as you do the liquid rennet, if you're using liquid rennet. So, yeah, when in doubt, use the calcium chloride. In fact, even when I used some sheep's milk that I was given, I added a bit of calcium chloride because Graham Strong, the guy who I got it from up in New South Wales in the Riverina area, mentioned that it set a good curd, but as soon as you started to move it around the pot, it started to fracture. So what I did was I did add a little bit of calcium chloride, and that helped prevent the curds from fracturing as you started to stir it. So that was really good. Just a couple more g'days. G'day to Valerie from New Zealand, and we've got Philip from London, and we've got Emily from Gladstone in Queensland, and Andrew from the other side of Melbourne. G'day to all of you. So the next question, and let me have a look. This is War and Peace. TV Box says, testing my Blue Labs pH meter on feta. Milk was 6.6. It's about normal. 1 hour after culturing, it was 6.6. Should have actually been a little bit less. Before putting curds into basket, the whey was 6.7. After 3 hours, the whey was 6.8. Was expecting it to drop. Yeah, it should have dropped from 6.6 down further as it became more acidic. So not sure what's going on there. I would check whether your you're adding enough starter culture for that manufacturer's specification for the amount of milk you're using, and B, if it's an older culture and it's been around for about a year, I would maybe change it out and try something different. Okay. Emily says, when will I have the tight weave cheesecloth back in stock? Well, hopefully by the end of this week, Emily, because for some reason, all the stuff in the cheese shop at littlegreenworkshops.com.au has been selling like hotcakes. So, yeah, I put in a big order and they shipped it yesterday from Brisbane, so I'm expecting it to be here tomorrow. So just keep an eye on that. Devon says, hello from Beijing, and that's fantastic. Thank you, Devon. Ariane, I think it is. Arian. Arian says, can you use junket to make cheese? No, not really. You can't make junket because junket's a watered down version of rennet. It's very light. Some junket tablets are even about 4 IMCU. So the lower the IMCU, or International Milk Coagulating Unit, it's a unit of coagulation that rennet strength should be. Some of those are even 4 to 5 IMCU per tablet. So you'd have to add a lot of junket to make your cheese set. And it actually has some, I think it's got chalk powder in it as well as a few other things. Great for making desserts, but not so good for making cheese. Okay. Sapperline, 101,000. Yeah, 101,000 now. I know, it's just gone off like a frog in a sock. It's incredible. Hawkey said, I think it's Hauke. I think that's how you pronounce it. Made my first cheese yesterday. Hold me awake till 3 in the morning. My main issue was the milk didn't coagulate quite in time. Had to wait double as long, 60 minutes in total. Is my rennet spoiled? It depends how old the rennet is. Animal rennet actually lasts a lot less than what fermented rennet, or FPC, fermented Cheeseman. I can't remember the technical name for it. If you're using vegetarian rennet, it tends not to go off as fast, but animal rennet does. Let me think. And it also could be that the strength of your rennet could be less than the strength that I use. Now, I use IMCU 200. It's a brand by CHR Hansen called Chimax Plus. And it works very well. I don't have any issues with that rennet ever setting. In fact, I can't remember a time I had an issue with it, except maybe when I made a real feta that had 70% sheep's milk and 30% goat's milk. The curd set was a little bit sloppy, but maybe I just needed to add a little bit more rennet there. So that's cool. Shane from Perth, he says, love your vids. Quick question, just getting started. Should I buy a all-in-one starter kit or just buy what I need? Well, it depends. How bitten are you already with the cheese making bug? If you're like me and made your first cheese and went, oh my goodness, I've just got to make more of this, then yeah, an all-in-one starter would probably be the best. There's a couple of kits that I stock. There's the artisan cheese making kit where you can make a swag of soft cheeses all the way up to some hard cheese. It's even got a cheese press in the kit. Or you could buy the hard cheese press. That's got some beginner cheeses all the way up to cheddar. That doesn't have a press. You have to buy that separately. But yeah, so it depends on how bitten by the turophile bug you've been, Shane. So I hope that answers your question. Next question is from, let's have a look. John. G'day, John. Hey, Gavin, listening from Michigan, USA. My blue cheese keeps turning mushy and the skin keeps falling off after about 3 weeks. Is the main cause of this a humidity issue? Yeah, it sounds like humidity is a little bit too high. With blue cheese, the humidity should be around 80%, nothing higher than that, because you'll tend then, if it's too high, to get pink or red molds growing on the outside of your cheese as well, and that'll tend to cause skin slip. But if you keep it fairly dry, then your blue cheese mold won't go too mushy, and you won't get skin slip, and it won't go mushy on the inside. So it is a humidity issue. Danielle says, "Hey Gavin, do you have any recommendations for fairly quick after work cheeses? I like a Gouda due to no ripening time, but was wondering which others might be good options. Thanks." Let me think. After work cheeses, as in you're going to make them after work. So I'll answer it that way. I actually regularly make cheese on a Friday night. So I usually start about 7 p.m. And most of the cheeses I make, the harder ones anyway, tend to only take about 5 hours from when they're milk all the way through to mold. Now, if you've got cheeses like Parmesan, you got to stir for like an hour and a half or something. Wensleydale, there's a whole bunch of stuff you got to do. Stick to the simple. Let me think. What's a good simple cheese? The softer cheeses are probably best because what you can do is you prepare them that night, leave them overnight, and then you leave them for nearly 24 hours anyway. And then the next evening, you can do what you need to do. So things like cream cheese, queso fresco, and there's so many variations with those fresh cheeses. You can do all sorts of stuff. Even a yogurt cheese, fantastic overnight cheese. It turns into labna, and you would have seen the yogurt cheese video recently anyway. So if you're going to do stuff like that, that's pretty simple. Another simple cheese that you could try that's fairly quick is the Bloomy Goat Blue was fairly simple and just needed a bit of flipping and that sort of stuff. And when I came home from work each night, I just did the next step and away I went. So that was pretty good. Hawkey says, greeting from Germany, by the way. Guten Morgen, guten Tag, whichever one it is now in Germany. Let me just have a look. In Cologne, Berlin, it's 1 p.m., 1:16 p.m. Lovely. Okay, back to the questions. Devon says, I've heard a lot of people using powdered milk for cheese. Is this possible? Seems weird. Indeed, it does. I've seen one video of somebody making quick mozzarella with powdered milk, and really, when I started watching it and he got about halfway through, he started adding oil to the cheese. So then it becomes a processed cheese. So it's not real cheese. I have used powdered milk to make a yogurt, and that seems to work okay. But that's the only thing I've tried to use to make cheese-wise or dairy-wise from powdered milk. So, yeah, I wouldn't make anything from powdered milk, except yogurt, and that works well. Hope that answers your question, Devon. The next question from Shin Lee. Do you sell your cheese you make to people in Melbourne? Well, I wish I could, but unfortunately, Shin Lee, I can't because I would have to go and get a proper, not a food something license from Dairy Australia or Dairy Victoria, and have my full kitchen inspected and have everything stainless steel, everything with one of those curvy floors that you can hose out. And so, no, unfortunately, I cannot sell any of my cheese. It's not allowed to by the law. I do, however, give it away to friends and family, and there's some regulars that come around and love sampling my cheese. Okay, that's why you see lots of friends and family videos on the channel. Let's have a look. Team Sapperline, is there any cheese that does not take 3 months beside mozzarella? Yeah, so there's a couple of really quick cheeses. So if you have a look at my Petite Blue, that took 30 days to mature. If you're into blue cheese, the Bloomy Goat Blue, or you can take it, you don't have to put the blue mold in, but it's just a Bloomy Goat cheese. That took 20 days to mature. So that's kind of like a fresh cheese, bloomy wise. I have made a provolone that I aged for 30 days as well. That tasted quite good. So there's a few examples there. Obviously, all the fresh cheeses. Camembert takes 4 weeks to mature, from milk to maturity. So there's some simple ones. Hope that answers your question. Jean-Francois says, I made a little bear last month and left them to age a few weeks after what you said, but the rind was still okay at first, then became yellow. What went wrong? What went wrong? Good question. Depends on, it's pretty hard to diagnose with bloomy cheeses. If it didn't have a bloom all over at the, say, 10-day mark and you wrapped it, then it's not going to grow any further. it will look yellow. Um, if you didn't mature it at a really cooler temperature, so usually what I do now after I've wrapped the bloomy cheese, the camembert or little bear, as I call it, my version of the recipe, um, I tend to put it straight into the normal kitchen refrigerator at 4 degrees and just let that mellow. And by the 4 week mark, there's no ammonia smell, and you've got a continuous paste through the middle. So uh, that's kind of what I do for maturing now, and hopefully that came through on the video. Okay, Emily said, how would you go about getting raw milk from someone local? You know, the easiest way, and that's to ask. That's to approach dairy farmers and ask. If they're willing to sell you some of their produce, I know here in Victoria it's illegal. I don't know about the other states. Um, but yeah, ask, call them up, see what they're in the yellow pages or online. Have a look and see if you can find their phone number and just say you're a home cheese maker wanting to get the best supply, and you want to get some raw milk and make cheese. And they will probably get you to sign a waiver, maybe, and go from there. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. Alrighty, where are we up to? There's so many people on here. This is fantastic. Um, I've missed. Right, here we go. Tabulum. Is there any difference between cheese made from fresh milk and ones made from pasteurized ones? Yeah, there is a big difference. The raw milk hasn't had all of the bacteria, the lactic bacteria that's native to the area, or as the French call it's the terroir, the environment that the milk was produced, what the cows ate, the local bacteria in and around the cow, and what becomes in the milk and the eventually all makes up the flavor profile of a raw milk cheese or a fresh milk cheese. The pasteurized ones have to have the starter cultures added back in after pasteurization because all the lactic bacteria has been killed off. So, yeah, there is a big flavor difference. I have had one raw milk cheese when I went to it was the Mold Festival, not this year, last year here in Melbourne. There were some more raw milk cheeses, some dinky die legitimate raw milk cheeses, and they tasted amazing. Blew me away, the flavour. Okay, Geordie says, I had my Tilsit a few weeks ago. My friend said it was the best cheese ever tasted. I'll be making it again. Thanks for the recipe. You're most welcome. Team Sapperlin, I'm Bulkhead's son in Vietnam. G'day, mate. How are you? It's an old Navy friend. Roy says, G'day, Gavin and Kim from the UK. Lucky to catch you today, just on my lunch break. Oh, I timed it like that. Of course. And Shane said, thanks very much. Devon says, I'm in Beijing. I have powdered rennet here, and I'm not sure the strength. Do you have any recommendations for using rennet powder? Well, hopefully on the packet, it actually says how many litres of milk, you know, what dosage to put for the rennet. That's the only way I can think of it. You would expect that the manufacturer would actually have something, maybe if it's in Chinese, and if you can speak Chinese, that's fantastic, but it depends on where you get it from. That's the only way I'd be able to figure it out. Unless it had an IMCU number on it, it's pretty hard to figure out. Sorry about that, Devon. Emily says, if I already have a few decor containers, where can I get the little tray inserts? I've got I do sell some the plastic cheese mats on the website, and they may fit in. Just have a look at the dimensions. I've got the dimensions listed there, so that's where I can think of the best place for them. So check that, Emily. If Kim's got a link, that would be great, to the plastic drying mats, whatever they're called. I think it's that. Anyway, Alpa says, I want to ask I want to ask for my Roquefort cheese I made last Thursday as prescribed. I did punch it all over for the blue formation, but others are getting mold. Shall allow these other molds, or will I remove them? Well, yeah, you only want the blue mold growing. So if there is no blue mold forming after about 5 days, something's not quite gone right. So yeah, it's best if you get rid of those ones by either heavily salting it. Penicillium roqueforti can handle a lot of salt, so you could salt the outside of the cheese again, and that'll dampen off the other molds, and hopefully the blue one will come back. So that's a good tip anyway. Erebus says, "Hi Gavin, with your little bear and camembert, you mix your culture in with the milk, but I've read online it can be sprayed as an aqueous culture over the outside. Is there a reason for the difference?" No, both work equally as well. If by about the 10th day you've got a good mold growth, then that's fantastic. If not, you can actually spray it. Put a little bit, I would say 1/16 of a teaspoon in a cup of cool boiled water of Penicillium candidum. Give it a good shake and put in a spray bottle and spray it all over your cheese. And yeah, that'll grow like crazy. But yeah, you can do that way. There's no difference. It works just as well. Um, Team Sam, where can I get all the things I need to make mozzarella? It's hard to get in Vietnam. You probably have to import them. I actually do ship a lot of stuff to Southeast Asia, so it seems like all that sort of cheese making stuff is difficult to get your hands on. Guy from WA, hello. I'm new to the world of cheese making. Is it possible to use buffalo milk instead of cow's milk for any cheese? Yeah, if you've got a ready supply of buffalo milk, you can make the best mozzarella in the world. Mozzarella di buffalo, buffalo, something like that. But yeah, you can make most cheeses. Remembering that buffalo milk is very high in fat content. It's probably double the highest of cow's milk. So you're talking about 10% fat content, which is why it makes such delicious, rich, fresh cheeses. So yeah, you can use buffalo milk, no problems at all. Flash 8 Bro says, what is important that the milk is 33 degrees before adding the rennet? The importance of that is that the mesophilic starter culture, if you're using a recipe with mesophilic, usually it's at between 30 to 33 degrees Celsius. That is the temperature that it likes to breed at the most. So if you keep it at a steady 32, 33 degrees Celsius, which is, I can't remember in Fahrenheit, 90, 91, 92 Fahrenheit, then they breed the fastest. That's why the ripening time, the ripening temperature, when you get to the first target temperature, that's when you first ripen the milk. That's when they breed like rabbits, and your bacteria multiplies like it's crazy. Okay. Okay. Andrew says, if you don't have the full amount of culture required in a recipe, can you use less and leave the milk to ripen for longer? If you do so, how do you decide to do it? Never come across that issue. Yeah, you could reduce the recipe by half, for instance, if you only had a little bit of culture left, but use the full amount and use the same ripening time. So when you're reducing or doubling a recipe, you halve the ingredients if you're going to make less, or double the ingredients if you're going to make more. But all the timings, all the temperatures, and all the pressing weights are all the same. That's the ingredient size is the only thing that changes. I've successfully scaled recipes up and down for a lot of the videos that I've made. So hope that helps. Rightio. I am lost. Here we are. We're back again. What about other cheeses? Yeah, lots. Buffalo milk. Guy from WA is asking again. What about other cheeses? Yeah, there's lots. Okay. Hawkeye says, another question. Did you hear about Mizithra, specialty from the island of Crete in Greece? Some sort of sheep, goats, ricotta. It's sweet, and when young, would love to recreate it. I actually have a recipe somewhere in one of my cheese making books for that, but it actually specifies raw sheep's milk. So it is basically ricotta made from sheep or goat's milk. A little bit of acid's been added in the form of vinegar, and very light on, and the milk's heated up to 95 Celsius, something like that, and then the curds and whey split, and then you just strain it off and you eat it. There's not much to it. It's the same as a cow's milk ricotta, which is quite sweet in itself as well. Okay. Um, Team Sapelo, is it possible to get cheese from other animals besides cow and goat? Yeah, sheep's milk for sure. There's actual reindeer cheese, which is very expensive. There's camel cheese, very popular in the Middle East, where they have camels, of course. Any ruminant you will get milk from, you can make cheese from. There's even in New York, they even made human cheese from lactating women, of course, and sold it for a small fortune. The cheesemaker obviously wanted to see how he could get his hands on some breast milk. So interesting. Um, Hawkeye says, when it gets older, sometimes reminds me of Keflatiri, also on my list. Um, yeah, so I'm yet to taste what my version of Keflatiri is going to taste like. So it should be quite interesting. It's still maturing in the fridge. I'm still keeping the mold at bay. I'll do another update video on that one soon as well. But that process was a lot different than what making a ricotta is, that's for sure, because you had to have thermophilic culture and heat the milk up and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, next question from Ben. G'day, Ben. Good to see you back, mate. Hi, Gavin. Could you explain why some cheese turns out crumbly and some elastic? What is the difference in the process? Okay, so let me think. So it depends on the pH of the cheese when it's put on the mold. So some are elastic, like mozzarella and parmesan, not parmesan, provolone, scamorza, and name all the pasta filata cheeses. They specifically have their acidity rapidly lowered. Sorry, the acidity um, they become more acidic, so the pH is lowered. That's what I'm trying to say. And they add hot water to it, and you can stretch it. And no aging whatsoever. So that's why that's elastic. When you look at cheeses like cheddars and any hard Italian cheeses or even Alpine cheeses, they tend to be crumbly because of the way they're aged. And the cheddaring process gets rid of a lot of the curds and gets rid of a lot of the whey out of the curds. So it's fairly dry when it's pressed. And as it ages, there is not very much lactose, and the breakdown of the enzymes left behind from the rennet and the starter cultures um, tend to break down the fats and make the cheese crumbly. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. I'd have to look it up in my book of cheeses up the back there somewhere for a full explanation. Wobbly Boost, yes, all mammals have milk. They do. You can even get it from chimpanzees if you want. Uh, Wobbly Boost says, "Hey from Cairns, love your vids. Thanks very much. Love to see you. It's the first time I think I've seen you on the chat. All right, where are we up to? So much stuff here. Geordie says, I can recommend for people new to cheese making halloumi and kafili, quick to make and quick to mature. If I can make them, anyone can. Yes, they are very good beginners cheeses. Kafili more like a cheddar style, but very quick to make. You can make that in one evening, easy. We'll get it into the press anyway. Montana says, hope you're feeling better and no longer have headaches you were before. Unfortunately, Montana, I have a chronic headache disorder, and it is called new daily persistent headaches. So every day I get a new headache when I wake up in the morning. Sometimes it's very painful, sometimes it's not. Like today, I've had a fairly good day. Um, and as the day progresses, sometimes the headaches kind of go away, and I'm left with this fuzzy feeling, cloudy. It's very hard to explain feeling in my head. And then the next day when I wake up, I've got a new headache. So lucky, aren't I? I'm on treatment for it. It's going to take a long, long time before they go away. And if you look at the Wikipedia page about new daily persistent headaches, you'll see that sometimes they're even curable. So that's why Kim and I moved the live show to the evening in Australia time. I'm feeling a lot better. I can answer the questions. I think it was last week, I tried to do a show in the morning and I just had to stop it after 11 minutes. I just couldn't do it. But thank you so much for asking. I really do appreciate it. Does cheese go well with butter? Only on bread. But you can mature cheddar with butter around the outside, as long as it's got a cheesecloth to stick to. Raw milk cheese, link for mats. We're back in stock. Yes, thanks, honey. Wow, 10% fat from buffalo milk. Yep, I can get buffalo milk here on the Atherton Tablelands in North Queensland. Give it a go if you can get it. That'd be fantastic. Team Sapperline, got to go. See you, mate. Davis, love your vids. Thank you very much. Yes, there you go. So I figured out the temperature where we are. Dharma says, how can different processes make a different taste? Well, it's down to a few main things. I've just got to check the time. Yeah, we've got doing well. Down to a few main things. So it is how long you ripen the cheese. How long you acidify the cheese before you add the rennet. That's one thing. How long you let the rennet before you cut the curd. How long you stir the curds for. Depends on how much whey's left in the cheese. What's another thing? How long you mature it for. How much you salt it. When you salt it. There are so many variables in cheese making with only a few ingredients, as you've seen through watching some of the videos that I produce. Some of the cheeses have identical amounts of rennet, calcium chloride, and starter culture, but they may be different starter cultures, and they have a different process. So that's why the processes make different tastes. All those variables change the acidity, the enzyme breakdown, the way the enzymes act on the fats in the cheese as you mature it. Wernerski says, have you ever tried to smoke a cheese? No, I haven't. I've actually added liquid smoke to a cheese before, and that actually worked very well. You can check out the liquid smoke Gouda. So that works. Yeah, so liquid smoke works well. Andy says, when making raw milk cheese, should I add a starter culture or use what is already in the milk naturally? Would this depend on the style you're trying to make? Yes. Two schools of thought. If you're making raw milk cheese, then don't add any starter cultures and see what happens. And you'll get an amazing flavour from the lactic bacteria that are present in your environment, your part of the world. If you're trying to make a certain style of cheese, then add in starter cultures. It goes without saying. Especially if you're trying to make something like an Alpine cheese and you want the eyes, the holes in the cheese, then obviously you're going to have to add propionic shamani to make those holes and to make that nutty flavour, because that bacteria might not be in your area. It's definitely in the Alpine regions of Switzerland and France and Italy, but it might not be here in Australia, for instance. So it may not cause those holes. So yeah, you do. It depends on what you're trying to make. So if you experiment with your local bacteria and see what sort of cheese it makes, then that will be quite amazing. Where are we up to? Guy from WA, try something before you day it tastes disgusting. Well, that's what I always do. Try something before. No, sorry, didn't understand it. Say, before you say it tastes. Yes, always try something before you taste. I know what you're trying to say. Right, Montana says, is curd stretching techniques different for each cheese? For pasta filata cheeses, kind of the same. You're trying to stretch the curd to get the strings, stringy bits. From videos I've seen, I haven't made a lot. I've only made provolone and quick mozzarella and traditional mozzarella. So really 3 pasta filata sort of cheeses. And the stretching technique from videos that I've seen that artisan cheesemakers make it, it's the same. There aren't much different except the size of the ball that you're making. So you're trying to get the cheese curd to stretch, and what you do with it afterwards and how you mature it are 2 different things. Okay. Where are we up to? Rick says, this is a much better time for me. 20 kilometres for you, so I'm at home in the evening. Well done, Rick. Yeah, so the Australians actually get a good time. This is a good time zone for all Australians and Asians and Europeans. Some of the US suffers, unfortunately, but there are some people on here from the US today, which is great. Good to see you all. John says, hey, Gavin, some cheese have calcium crystals in them which provide a lovely crunch. Do these only form over time? Is there any way to promote them to grow, like adding more calcium chloride? The crystals you're talking about, John, are called calcium lactate, and um, it is found in cheeses that are aged over 10 months. In fact, cheeses that are aged over a year that aren't hard Italian cheeses. So sometimes you certainly won't find it in Parmesan. It's just not present. Um, but cheeses like aged Gouda have fantastic. So 12-month-old Gouda has calcium lactate crystals in it. Some cheddars I've seen and tasted, some Romanos that I've made, that I age them for 12 months and they have the calcium lactate. But the only way to promote them is to age your cheese longer. That's just how they form. And they do taste amazing. They've got a lovely crunch and flavour to the cheese. Okay. Where am I up to? I've lost my place again. Montana. Are you poor soul? It sounds awful. Yes, it is. Lavender oil on my temples. No, all these things don't seem to help. It's a autoimmune disease. My own antibodies are attacking the lining between my skull and my brain. That's the root cause of it. So anyway, sorry about that. Back to cheese. Emily says, have I made cheese with saffron in it, or would you try it? Well, funny you should say that, Emily. I actually found some saffron strands in our spice cupboard. I got a box with all these spice packets in it, and I found there's a little plastic container with saffron strands in it. So I was actually thinking about adding them to the milk before ripening. So, and maybe they'll probably be break down. I don't know. We'll see. Saffron strands don't tend to, but it'll make the milk very red, I would think, and hopefully rennet okay. And the flavour, well, who knows? Anything with saffron tastes amazing. So I'm going to give that a try. Yeah, why not? Breezy Gill. Oh, good evening, Gavin, everyone. Good to catch you, mate. Thank you very much, Breezy Gill. Thanks for following along. Hawkey says, thank you very much for all your answers. You really infected me with cheese making. Yeah, I'm like that. Would it be possible for you to share that Mithra recipe? Yeah, I can do that. If I can get my hands on some goat's milk. Last time I went to the supermarket, they were sold out. So, yeah, I'll put that on my list. Sorry about this. But like I said, it's basically ricotta made with sheep or goat's milk. In fact, ricotta made with goat's milk is called sherv. Okay, Yasser says, is the mesophilic culture combined with or without rennet best option for cream cheese, buttermilk, and other soft cheeses? Moreover, what type of mesophilic culture do you recommend? Thanks a lot. All right, for those softer cheeses, I highly recommend Flora Danica by C.H.R. Hansen. It's a great all-rounder. It's got 4 different lactic bacteria in them. It has a lactic bacteria that causes a diacetyl action, which is it makes it taste buttery. And for those types of fresh cheeses, it's very delightful. In fact, I would not make cream cheese without Flora Danica now, because I remember the first cream cheese I made with just a standard 2-strain mesophilic, and it was quite sharp. It was quite tangy. But now that I use Flora Danica for those cheeses, absolutely delicious. Hawkey says, thank you for the continuous effort you put into cheese making this channel and answering questions. No, thank you. I really do enjoy it. I really have a good time enjoying the Q&A when I can get to it, that's for sure. Kitty Cat says, "Oh, I just saw this. What a surprise. Yes, it's in your time zone." Lovely to see you on board, Wendy. Do appreciate you turning around. Um, Guy from WA, also, if I'm blunt with my words, I'm sorry. No, you're okay, mate. I've always been that way, no matter how much I try. Cool. Um, Andy says it's perfect timing for the morning commute here in Philadelphia, Pasadena. Yeah, I thought I'd catch it. So would it be about what, 7:45 there in Eastern US? Andrew says, I'm loving the new time slot. 8 a.m. in my household is manic, and I never got to watch it live. Galen says, hi from Beijing. Fellow left-hander here. Ordered a few cheese kits from you, and I'm looking forward to getting started. I forgot to order the tiny spoons, so we'll do that soon. Yeah, the mini measuring spoons. You kind of need them when you're measuring out the starter cultures. I certainly use those quite a bit. Every cheese session, I use them, unless I'm using a single sachet DVI. So you pour the whole sachet. It's about an eighth of a teaspoon in the milk. But yeah, thank you very much for your order too, by the way. Breezy Gill, how old are these saffron threads? Spices tend to become, oh, they must be about 4 years old. Maybe I need to get some new ones. Maybe, yeah. But it depends on how long the supermarkets keep them on their shelves too. You don't know. So yeah, I can only try. Um, Leo says, can you upload the last Ask the Cheeseman broadcast? For some reason, I can't view it. Unfortunately, mate, I deleted it. So it is no longer on YouTube. The whole 11 minutes that was the pandemonium of that episode. Not only did the video not work properly, the audio was crap. I got a headache about 11 minutes into it that I just couldn't shake. So sorry, I didn't post it. So that version 64 is gone, and this is the new version 64 of Ask the Cheeseman. You didn't miss much, mate. There was nothing in it. Forvo Quizlet says, greeting from Kentucky in the US. What did you do if retired before cheese? Appreciate all you do to share your cheesy wisdom. Sorry if someone's already asked. No, no one has asked. I'm actually currently still employed part-time as a IT security expert, I suppose I call that. And I work for one of the large financial institutions here in Victoria. So that's currently what I do. However, the other part of the part-time is working in our own business. So not only am I the content creator for Little Green Workshops, and you'll see that at the start of every cheese making video, I help my lovely wife who packs orders to ship out to all the lovely customers that buy cheese making stuff, soap making stuff, and candle making, and bath bombs, and all the natural homemade stuff that you can make. And we sell kits for that sort of stuff. So that's what I do more of now. So I do that in the evenings and my day off on Wednesday and on weekends. So there you go. And maybe watch this space. There'll be a big announcement coming up soon, either good or bad, about my employment situation. Anyway, Illyrian, I think that's how you pronounce it. Hello, what do you think about vinegar cheese? Is it good? Vinegar cheese, more often than not, is called ricotta, and it is okay. Well, I like it in lasagna and all sorts of meals. Baked ricotta is fantastic, so much. Emily says, I saw the saffron used on an episode of Gourmet Farmer. Sydney food critic moves to Sydney. I won't spoil the outcome, but I very much recommend the show. Actually, yeah, I have watched the first and second season of Gourmet Farmer on SBS. Great show if you're in Australia, if you can get your hands on it. I think they have videos now of it. So DVDs, sorry. So that's cool. Greg says, hi, Gavin. Great vids and cheese info. Just wondering how much and how safe is experimenting with bacterial cultures? Greg, halfway between Alice Springs and Kalgoorlie. God, you're in the middle of nowhere, mate. It's very safe. Lactic bacteria are present in all sorts of foods like yogurt and cheese and all that sort of stuff. So you can't add too much, basically. If you do, you'll just have a lot more acidic. The cheese will be very acidic, and your nose will be able to tell you whether it's good or not. But yeah, you can mix starter cultures or different types of starter culture to create a totally new cheese. That's how they create these new cheeses and new flavors by mixing different sorts of starter cultures, and it's all down to the biology of the lactic bacteria on what they actually do to the milk as they mature. So yeah, it is very safe. People have been doing it for thousands and thousands of years. Probably not so much in the powdered form that we use today, but raw milk and turning that into cheese would have been a big experiment, thousands of years ago. Okay. Luke says, my Gruyere cheese is going sticky in the ripening container. It's been ripening for 7 days. Is that normal? Yes, it is. It is very normal. Just keep washing it. It will form its rind soon enough. If you find it still sticky after about a month, then lower the humidity, let it dry out a little bit, but keep washing it with that simple brine solution. Okay, Leo says, you are a cheese master. How do you know so much about cheese? See all these books? That way. All these books behind me? I've read every single one. In fact, there's one book in particular. If you want to master cheese, it's called Mastering Artisan Cheese Making, and it's by Gianniclis Caldwell. She lives in, I think, the west coast of the United States. And this book is so technical. There is a lot of techniques, all about the pH in different cheeses. And I've read it cover to cover, and I've learned a lot from it. And learned a lot of mistakes that I was making early on in the day and how to fix them. So just by reading books is a great way. Also, another great show where I picked up a lot of tips is watching Will Stud's Cheese Slices. So I'll just where are we? Here we are. So it's a DVD. You can get it on iTunes now. All the seasons. So Cheese Slices by Will Stud. He goes around and visits lots of different artisan dairies all throughout the world. Everywhere in the world, he's made a video about the cheese, the local cheese that's made. And you get a lot of tips by watching what the artisan or professional cheesemakers actually do. So that's how I learned so much. A lot of research, a lot of hard work, and a lot of practice. That's what happens when you've made so many cheese videos. You kind of do it in your sleep. And Kitty Cat says, often wonder what my day job was. Well, there you go. Made your mozzarella the other day with A2 milk. Turned out well. I bet it tasted nice too. What are we up to? We've got 7 minutes left. Just a few questions to go. Montana, do you refrigerate the milk before you make the cheese, or is it just room temperature? Normally what I do, Montana, when I'm starting to sanitize all my equipment and stuff, I take the milk out of the fridge, usually use pasteurized, unhomogenized milk, which we can get readily in here in Australia, most places anyway. And I let it come up to whatever temperature it is before I pour it into the pot. So usually it's at about 20 degrees before I put it into the pot. So, pardon me. Or sometimes I forget to do that and just take it out at 4C and just heat it up, and it takes about half an hour. Okay. Hawkey says, can you tell me about where you got the cheese heart from? I tried to find it on the shop, as here in Germany I can only find large ones for commercial scale cheese making. It was sent to me as a gift, mate, from a friend in Canada. So unfortunately, we don't sell them either. However, there are instructions on how to build them if you're crafty. And Kim, could you put the link to the, I can't remember what I called it. Just look for cheese harp on Little Green Cheese and you'll find the link. Okay. Emily says, will you do any videos on soap making since you stock the ingredients in your shop? Emily, yes, there are soap making videos on our other channel. If you go to the main channel, if you go to the main channel page for this channel, you'll see there's a Little Green Workshops channel, not one called Gavin Weber like this one there. So yeah, I've linked that in the channel page. Pop over there. There are about 10, maybe, yeah, about 10 soap making videos already. So how we make soap, cold process, and we're going to actually do a few videos on melt and pour soap that we make as well. Madge Ob says, hi Gavin, all the milk around me is 3% fat. Can I make cheese with it? Yeah, you can. I would also add about, to get it up a little bit, if you want more yield, I would add 50 millilitres. Don't know how many ounces that is, about 50 millilitres, which is 3 tablespoons of cream per litre of milk or quart of milk. And that'll boost your yield a little bit more too. So just normal cream, as long as it's not thickened cream. It has to be pure cream. Carol says, and hello Carol, what causes cheese to have a slightly bitter taste? Commercial milk or processing? There's a few things. Let me think. I answered this question the other day for somebody. It was not enough salt can cause bitterness, too much rennet, not enough stirring of the curd after cutting the curd. They're the 3 main things that I can remember that produce a slightly bitter taste in cheese. They're the 3 main factors. Not enough salt usually is the main culprit, because people undersalt their cheese, and it doesn't dampen off the activity of the lactic bacteria enough during maturation, and it keeps breeding and multiplying and creates this bitter taste. Also, if you do find that you have a cheese, your own cheese that you've made, and you find it's bitter, age it for another 2 months, and you'll find the bitterness goes away, because the enzymes are broken down even further, and that bitterness goes away. So that's a great tip that I learnt. Probably the first year of cheese making. Put it back in the cheese cave and let it age some longer, and you'll find it's amazing and not bitter anymore. Luke said, thanks Gavin, we'll be stocking paper for wrapping brie, and will you be stocking red wax soon? We're having trouble with the supply for the red wax, so I've only got yellow wax at the moment. Sorry, mate. Which is just as good. Any colour doesn't matter. They're all micro crystalline waxes that stretch if your cheese tends to stretch, like Jarlsberg or Emmental or those type of holy cheeses or eye-forming cheeses. Carol says there are excellent cheese harps on Etsy. 2 gentlemen make them to order. Yeah, there are. You go on Etsy, you'll find all sorts of good cheese-making bits. Greg says, I only have access to UHT milk. Is it possible to reconstitute with additives to make it cheese-worthy? Unfortunately not. UHT milk is beyond saving. The only thing you can make out of it is ricotta. And I know I've tried. One of my early experiments before I started doing videos was trying to make cheese out of UHT. It didn't matter how much rennet I added to it. It just would not set a curd, because it's been heated up to, I think it's been flash heated to 170 degrees Celsius. So all the proteins in it are killed. The casein's killed off. It won't set a curd at all. Doesn't matter what you do. That's okay, honey. That's fine. Malcolm just found the link for the cheese. Yeah, okay. No drama, Malcolm. That's fantastic. I'm glad you found the link. Matthew says, just wondering where I can buy stuff off the website. Does it come from you? Yes, if you go to littlegreenworkshops.com.au, yes, it does come from us. Kim and I wrap all your orders, or she does most of the wrapping. I take it to the post office, and we do the restocking and all that stuff. And yeah, so Kim, if you want to put up the link to the cheese category at Little Green Workshops, that would be absolutely fantastic. We're actually at time now, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so, sorry, just on that UHT, yes, it is dead. It is dead milk. There you go, make your own curd cutter. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Thank you, Rick. So Kim's just doing the wind up. Thank you very much, as always. Don't forget, our shop at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Kim's just put the link in there. You can go to the shop and buy all things cheesy to make all your cheesy goodies. There's also Patreon. If you want to become a patron of the show, you can go to littlecreamcheese.com/support, and that'll take you to the Patreon page, and you can do that. Also, there's a merch store. I don't know if Kim's going to put the link up, but somewhere in there. Oh, thanks for the Patreon link. Great. Thanks, honey. The merch store somewhere, you can buy T-shirts and cups and certified curd nerd aprons, and it's all there. You got to go and have a look. That's cool. And don't forget, I will actually put a link, an Amazon affiliate link to this book, into the rerun of this video. I'll keep this up online. And don't forget, keep calm and make cheese. A beginner's guide to cheese making home. That's my own book. And that's in our shop at Little Green Workshops. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Without you guys, there is no show. I'm so happy there's so many people here, even though we changed the time slot, and I don't have a headache. So that's even a bigger bonus. Thank you, Curd Nerds, and we'll see you next time. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. G'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds.